Hi there, and welcome to How to Train Your Police Officer by William Ragsdale. Hi there, how are y'all doing today? My name is William Ragsdale. I am 29 years old and I am attending Johnston Community College. I am majoring in criminal justice with a minor in latent and forensic evidence. To the left is a picture of me. Now, what am I proposing and what am I going to be talking about in this presentation? I wanted to talk about an issue that the police are currently dealing with and a possible solution to fix this ongoing crisis. How has this issue been dealt with before and why did those not work? Is this new solution possible and even achievable? Okay, so let's first talk about a brief history of law enforcement. Law enforcement has existed for many centuries. It originally started off as more of a military-controlled enforcement group or group of mercenaries employed by that nation. From ancient times to even current times, every nation has had some form of policing, whether it be Roman centurions or the modern-day police officers. In 1749, the Bow Street Runners were created to help maintain the unruly populace. These were noblemen of the time that grouped together to patrol the streets of London, especially at night. It was more like a patrol group or a neighborhood watch organization rather than a police force. It wasn't until 1829 when Sir Robert Peel, a minister of Parliament and a person who had also served as Home Secretary for United Kingdom, that the first police force, also known as the Metropolitan Police, or as we commonly call them, bobbies or peelers, was established. This system has evolved over the years to become our modern-day law enforcement agencies. Now, what is a problem that police are currently facing right now? The answer? Police are struggling with doing their jobs due to a lack of training and a poor quality of training. Why is this a problem? Without proper training, police officers are not able to do their jobs effectively and safely. This also increases the chances of officers and citizen-related injuries or death. Police do not receive enough training to be able to go out and do his or her job correctly. Is this a problem that needs to be fixed? Yes. This is a very important issue that affects a lot of things. Imagine if you were put in charge of a very important job but only received partial training for it. Would that be a good thing if you only had partial training for your job? Now, how does lack of training affect the police? Without proper training, officers do not know how to deal with certain situations properly. Only certain departments are trained on how to react to certain situations in crisis. So when other agencies respond to the scene, those groups do not know how to handle the situation. Some states receive different training than other states because of the assumption that certain scenarios won't happen except in those particular states. For example, the police in certain parts of California are trained on how to deal with forest fire scenarios because it happens there a lot, while, say, officers in Texas or North Carolina might not receive that same training because the odds of them having to deal with forest fires aren't as high. Now, how does improper training affect the police? Now, according to Seth Stoughton, who is a former officer that is now working as a professor teaching people, officers don't shoot out of anger or frustration or hatred. They shoot because they are afraid. Why? Well, by training police to have certain mindsets, it can cause a chance of accidents to happen. Officers are constantly taught during training to treat every encounter as a hostile situation and to constantly be in fear of losing his or her life. By teaching officers that they may lose their life at any time, then officers start to become paranoid and overreact to even the simplest of encounters with citizens. Now ask yourself, What do you think will happen when you train someone to always think they're going to lose their life during an encounter and then give that person a gun and tell them to go out and patrol the streets? Do you think they would feel safe knowing that, yes, they have a gun, but they're constantly being told that any situation they might die? Now, why are officers afraid? Here are some charts to show different reasonings. These were collected from the Uniform Crime Report from the FBI website. Now, the chart on the left shows law enforcement officers feloniously killed. Between 2004 and 2013, a total of 511 officers have died. As you can see, varying from year to year. Some years had high amounts, other years had lower amounts. Most deaths were in Group 1 cities or cities that had populations of 250,000 or more. The smaller the town, not so much. The chart on the right shows officers killed versus officers assaulted. As you can see, the number one means of officers dying was arrest situations. The number two, ambush situations, traffic pursuit, and so on. Officers assaulted, disturbance call, arrest situation, all other, and so forth. So by looking at the charts, officers have a good chance of either being injured or killed during an arrest situation, which happens normally. Now, how do different agencies attempt to fix this? Various states and agencies have tried to produce various solutions to this problem, but none have really succeeded. Some departments have chosen to simply ignore it and pretend like it will solve itself. There are towns and cities that use outside law enforcement agencies to deal with the issues in its area rather than fix its own police force. So instead of fixing the problem, they basically get someone else to take care of their issues and ignore it. Some agencies have only focused on certain parts and have ignored the rest of it, so they only dealt with a small part of the problem instead of the whole picture. Now, has this solved anything? The obvious answer is no. What can we do differently? Starters, we need to focus on the whole issue rather than the parts. Next, we need to establish a universal training program that teaches recruits on how to deal with all scenarios regardless of whether it happens in that area or not. We need to increase the training period from 2 to 3 months to at least 6 months or more for them to fully understand. Try making the classes hybrid. By having them learn both in class and online, it can expand their knowledge and give them more opportunities to learn as well as dedicate it to other parts of training. Have officers refresh their knowledge at least every 2 to 3 months. Try creating a program that can adapt and modify itself to match our constantly changing society. If a new crisis or situation occurs, create a class to teach recruits and officers how to deal with that problem as soon as possible, instead of waiting for it to happen several more times and then realize we need to deal with this. How can we achieve this goal? Have Congress help out. First, we should have Congress pass a bill that creates and enforces the use of this new program. By having a universal BLET program, or Basic Law Enforcement Training Program, that is reinforced by an act of legislation, then everybody will use it and teach it to their recruits. Sometimes you must enforce something to be able to achieve it. Acquire the funds for this new program, whether having legislation draft a budget for it, create donation campaigns and fundraisers to let people know, have recruits pay for their part of the training, kind of like a college program, or try getting citizens and the media involved to help our society understand what the police are going through to help create awareness. Will this new program succeed? Only time can honestly tell. Like with all solutions, it takes trial and error to find the correct answer. If we remain persistent and determined, then there's a good chance this kind of program could succeed. These are some of the locations I found, my information in case any of y'all would like to try to find out. Thank you very much for your time.